This is an Elgrand E51. It's the model with just the one screen in the front. There's no flip down screen in the roof. A lot of these models have a flip down screen at the back here. And I understand that when they have that screen spec'd, they're also very likely to have a set of RCA sockets in the back here, which kind of acts as they call it a VTR input, which I guess is videotape recorder input, and it lets you hook up like a games console or a camcorder or whatever it might be, and play it on the screens, the front screen and this where the flip down screen would be here. As I say, this fan isn't spec'd with that. However, I was sort of keen to get an audio input to the stereo. I was using one of the kind of Bluetooth FM transmitters, but the sound quality is not great, so I figured it would be nice to have a proper line connection, you know, an auxiliary input to it. So I did some digging. It seems so that there's a TV mode at the front. There's a button that says TV, which I'll show you in a bit, and you can hit that to get an auxiliary input to play. But there was nowhere in this fan as it's spec to hook into that. So yeah, I dug around a bit. There's a TV tuner which kind of provides that VTR input, and they might be in various places. I've seen people. Some people have found it under the driver's seat. Some people have found it in this cubby hole here. Mine was actually in this, behind this rear trim here. So I've been in here. This trim just pulls away, so there are kind of like metal pins on there that keep it secure, and it really is a case of just grabbing it and giving it a good pull. It sort of feels like it's going to break, but actually the pins are fairly sturdy. I was a bit worried because the weather's cold. I didn't want to snap any pins, but it seemed okay. And the TV tuner's this one here, this silver box, which kind of screwed to the side of the car. And I took a punt really. There was a try and show it here, but this middle socket here was actually empty, which to me, you know, looked like it would most likely be the auxiliary input, which would, of course, if it was spec'd that way, would have connected into there and would have kind of run some RCA sockets out to this panel over here. But as I say, that socket was empty. So I looked around online. It seems you can get a little dongle, kind of an adapter, which I've got plugged in here now. So I ordered it from Japan, and it only took like 4 days to come, which is kind of amazing. But it looks like this. It's plugged in now, so it's just a kind of a, you know, RCA video and the red and white audio connector. It just goes into this connection here. So I've just given it a bit of a test. It seems to work. I'll just grab a phone to test it out with. Okay, so I've got an old phone here with a 3.5mm output, so that's connected to that dongle I bought from Amazon Japan, and I'll post that link in the description. So yeah, that should be connected up. Go around to the front. As I say, when you turn the ignition on, there's this TV button here, which I pressed already. So actually it seems to remember whatever mode you were using before. It goes straight into TV mode. And in theory, although it's obviously showing a black screen because there's no video input, I've got audio input there, which is great. So that's like a, you know, proper line input. And to get that what they call VTR mode, which is like the video input mode, which is, you know, coming from that dongle that I plugged in at the back there. Once you've hit TV, this is in TV mode now. If you press the what they call the decision button, that kind of joypad thing, it's this button on the right. So you kind of toggle that, and that toggles between regular TV, which doesn't work because I think it's on the Japanese frequencies. I don't think that will ever work here, and between VTR mode. hopefully. There you go. Yeah. So the cool thing is that it seems to remember that setting. So as soon as I turn the car on, it just works, which is great. It's actually sort of easier to use than some of the modern cars I've used, where you have to fiddle about and try and get it to pair, or switch to the Bluetooth mode. So that's a line-in connection that's working, and I think the next step would be I'll obviously get this panel popped back on again. There's this cable could run through to there, and I'm thinking probably it makes sense to run the cable to just behind this socket. That way I never really need to get back into this again. I could connect whatever I want, and I think what I'll connect is a Bluetooth receiver. Maybe I can tap some power off the cigarette lighter socket to power that, and it can all sit behind here. It doesn't have to be out in the car. This is a panel, I won't pull it off now, but it pulls off really easily, so easy access to that if I needed to change the setup. So yeah, I think that works well. So that's an audio auxiliary input for an E51 that doesn't have the RCA input specced by the rear seats here, and just has the single front screen. Right, it's a couple of days later, and I've now got this 12 volt Bluetooth module that I ordered off Amazon. So this takes a DC jack input, which I've just snipped off an old adapter that I had, kind of chopped it off the end there, and I've just been testing it with this battery pack. I just happen to have a 12 volt battery pack that I could use to test. So I've connected it up, and it wasn't particularly obvious which would be the positive and which would be the negative, but you can, if you stick a multimeter in the end there and on the end there, you should be able to verify if that's a positive number. You've got the connectors round the right way. In other words, the red is in the middle section, which I understand is like supposed to be the positive, generally speaking. If that was reading a minus number, you'd have them round the wrong way, so you could just flip the connection there. So I've just used this battery pack to test the Bluetooth module. I had it plugged into the stereo down there, just through that RCA cable, and it seems to sound good. I'd actually rejected, I bought a different module that arrived yesterday, and it sounded a bit weird. There was no bass, it was just really trebly, so I kind of gave up on that one and got this one instead. But yeah, it seems to be working well. So I'll put this in the back of the car, and I'm going to connect it up. I've got some little kind of T connectors that are sort of like solderless connectors, which I'll use. So I'll show those in a moment. But yeah, time to get this plugged in the back of the car and hopefully tap some power off that cigarette lighter adapter, hopefully without breaking it. All right, I'm back at the car now. As I was saying, I've got this Bluetooth module, and the cable that I plugged into the TV tuner behind that trim, it just drops nicely down the back here, and through this hole, through this little piece of trim. I was talking about tapping some power off this cigarette lighter power lead, and I was going to use that's what I mentioned a moment ago, these kind of T connectors. They're kind of like solderless connectors. In theory, you just clip it on, so that would clip onto the kind of the power lead there, and then off the side of that you just plug in your device, which in this case is the Bluetooth module. I was looking at this though, I was a bit worried. This is meant for cables up to 0.5 mil, and I was looking at the power leads here, and I think they're a bit thicker than that. So the last thing I wanted to do was clip that on and just basically chop the power lead, because then I'd have to solder it to fix it, which wouldn't be very fun. So actually, for the moment, I've kind of bodged it up a bit. I just pulled the plug off the back here, and I've actually just wedged the power lead for the Bluetooth connector just into the back here. So I did the same again as I was doing inside, which is I connected up this little power lead this DC barrel jack just to the multimeter, just to make sure that the polarity was as I expected, but it was, because you can see there's a red lead and a black lead, so it was kind of, it did, you know, it was coming out as expected. So after I checked that, plugged the Bluetooth device in and plug it into the audio source, obviously, and it should work. If I go and turn the ignition on. So TV comes on, just a black screen, obviously. And then with a bit of luck, I've paired with that device already. And I've got, just to verify, the cigarette lighter is still working. I've got this kind of USB socket thing that plugs into it, which just happens to show the voltage for some reason. Okay, cool. So I've just clicked. That's the Bluetooth device. So yeah, that's connected. So yeah, that is working as expected. So all I need to do is, well, I think probably ultimately I'll come back and improve this. You know, if I can get a T connector, you know, a sort of solderless connector like this one, that would actually work well with a slightly thicker cable, I'll use that. But for the moment, although that's pretty ugly, I don't think that's going to come out. It seems fairly solid. So I'll just put this back in the hole and get the trim panel on, and that should be it. All right, everything's back in there now, so you wouldn't know there's a Bluetooth module back there. I figured I'd just test it quickly. I've turned the ignition off. See how quickly it starts up. My hope is it's actually, I mentioned it before, I kind of want it to be less fiddly than some modern cars. It'd be nice if, you know, if you turn the car on, if it would just work. So it's off at the moment, so there's obviously no Bluetooth. Let's see what happens. All right, that's switched over there. That's great. I'm happy with that.